Hi everybody, this is Barbie, also known as the Glitter Goblin. Today I'm going to show you how to do some eco printing. First, I want to give credit where credit is due. Most of what I'm telling you today I learned from watching Kelly at Book and Paper Arts. So that's a YouTube channel. You can, if you want to see a more thorough, more scientific explanation of things, you can go and watch her video. I'm not going to link it. I'm not that skilled with doing things like that. But the YouTube channel is called Book and Paper Arts. She has an extensive channel. Once you get there, you can just type in the search bar eco printing, or really just eco, and it will take you to her video. All right, so what we're doing then, and you'll have to excuse me, I have all this set up on a kitchen counter, and I am a short person and I can't really see what I'm doing. But this is what I'm talking about. Making paper like this. It doesn't have to be that long. I can talk to you about some other options, but I'm going to show you how I did this. Now, first I'm going to confess, I'm still pretty new at this. I'm learning. So I do have this sheet that turned out really well. And I have a couple of other sheets that got some cool orange on them, but like this one, you know, this side right here didn't turn out as well. But you know, this is a, let's see, 12-inch by 4.5 inch, because I took a 9 by 12 sheet of paper and cut it in half down the center. So of course I'm not compelled to use an entire sheet. I can cut up different parts, or some of these that I'm about to show you that didn't turn out quite as well, I can use as backgrounds, as starts to something else, and then add some die cut leaves or some stamped leaves. And some of these, is it this one? Yeah, some of these have kind of a cool vibe on the back too. So like that's a more shadowy look. Anyway, but I did have some that were not as successful. Here you can see that there's only a few leaves that turned out. But again, depending on how I use this, what I add to it, I can still make most of this work. You know, I can even add some painting on top. This one was pretty rough. Didn't really turn out well, but it's a piece of paper, y'all. It's 12 inches by 4.5. I can throw it away. Or it is very heavy watercolor paper, 140 weight watercolor paper, very durable, so I can completely paint over it and do something else with it if I don't want to waste the paper. You know, I have lots of options here. So let me tell you how I got here. First of all, I do live in the woods, so I have plenty of leaves around. If you are in the city, you might have a little more of a hard time. But this is what I'm using. I am using this substance called alum. Okay, you get it in the spice aisle. It basically looks like salt. They use it in pickling, so like making dill pickles and things like that. It's not super expensive, and this bottle has gotten me through several batches. I use alum just to prepare paper when I want it to soak up color. So before I water marble, before I do any dyeing, a lot of times I'll pre-soak my paper in alum. But that, again, is only if it's a good quality paper. You know, you start pre-soaking typing paper and things are just going to shred. All right, so what I did is yesterday, I went out and picked a bunch of leaves. All right, so I took very few of them directly from the tree. Most of them I just picked up off the ground. They had already fallen. I put a little bit of alum in this water, maybe a tablespoon or so. I didn't really measure it, but the leaves have been soaking overnight, and you can see it's made this like fossilized amber color water. Some of the colors already started to come off the leaves. So I will tell you, I had some extra paper in the last batch I made. And so when I was done taking the leaves out, I took the extra pieces of paper and just threw it in the leaf water. And it did, it dyed it like almost an antique linen color. If you're familiar with that color from the Tim Holtz Distress line. So anyway, that was kind of cool too. So you can even get some use out of that. So that's been soaking in alum water all night. And then my paper strips have been soaking in alum water all night. Now, You don't necessarily have to use the 140 weight. I did at some point use some 120 as well, but because this water's soaking all night, because you're gonna steam it in a little while, because it's gonna sit in a rolled up situation around a stick like this for several days until it's dry to the touch on the outside, you really want a good paper here, a good paper. Okay, so I've got my strip of paper laying down. I'm just gonna start taking leaves. Now this one, I will confess, well, no, I'm not gonna do that one yet. So these I've just picked up off the ground, soaked them in water. Some of them are torn, some of them aren't, completely there. I'm gonna kind of flatten them out as I place them on here. I'm getting them kind of close together, probably do a little overlapping. I'm trying to get some different shapes, but really fairly random here. Nothing, seriously super important about doing this. This is a matter of taste. I do try to mix and match the colors a bit. So I've got the red here next to the orange, next to the yellow, next to the green and yellow, next to the other orange. And if I could find some of the smaller ones I pulled out, here we go. I might fill in some of these spaces. Let's see. Okay, I might just leave well enough alone for now. And then I'm going to get another piece of paper and lay on top. Okay, and I'm trying to kind of line it up, but I'm not worrying about exact precision here. This is all going to get rolled up. It's going to get tied up together. This one that I showed you a little bit ago, this has been drying for, 4 or 5 days now. So I will open this and reveal to you and let you see how that works. It's kind of cool. All right, this one I did pick off of a tree. I was walking around in the yard and it was at eye level with me. And I don't know if you can see the veins in that, the detail. I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, because according to Kelly, the leaves that have just recently fallen will, she refers to them as ready to give up their color. Okay, so I don't know if I'll get any color out of this or not. I have gotten color out of green leaves in the past, so I'm kind of crossing my fingers, but we will see. As you can see, I really do live in the woods, and so I have quite a variety of different kinds of leaves available to me. If you are more in a neighborhood or a city, you can try to get together with some friends and maybe trade some leaves. Maybe you have a maple in your yard and she's got an oak in her yard or whatever. This one isn't even a whole leaf, but I just thought the color was great on it. So we're going to give it a try. All right, so here we go. And I am not so skilled with cameras and things that I'm going to come back in a week and be like, here's my big reveal from what you saw me do the other day. I'm going to show you a big reveal from what I did the other day, and we're just going to move on with our lives. It's like a baking show, my daughter says. She's like, Mom, you do it like a baking show. I'm like, okay. So anyway, and I'm just going to show you one roll right now, and you can take it from there. Here's a nice bright green. So the rolls, okay, so we're going to roll this up around a stick. I have done as many as 5 sheets of paper and as few as 3. So you can keep experimenting with that. I think that the 5 is a little tough to roll up. And the 3 didn't have as much pressure. That one that I showed you, I'm going to trade this one. That one that I showed you that didn't have many leaves really imprinted at all. That came from the threes. Oh, and here's just a place where I found a couple leaves stuck together. And so I thought, well, that'll make a nice look. You'll get that pattern. And I don't know what I'm looking for here. Maybe something yellow. The yellow doesn't tend to come out quite as well, but I think it's worth putting a couple on there. All right, here's an orange that's a good size. All right, so where are we? That's sheet 3. Here is number 4. And I'm not sure if I said this, but I did put alum in the water with the paper as well. Again, about a tablespoon or so. It's a mordant. It's what's called a mordant. So it means it helps the color stick. All right, these leaves, I think this is from a tulip poplar. And they turned out really great on my last adventure. And then this one had such a wonderful shape. It was like right on the sidewalk leading up to my house. So I thought, well, you are mine now. And if you want to be really weird about it, I kind of found that the best thing that worked for me is going out after it rains in the fall, because then the leaves have been freshly knocked down. Trying to find, okay, this was a bright red. I love this. I'm hoping this one turns out. Anyway, the leaves that have been knocked down, okay, so the leaves that just get knocked down in the course of a regular day or by a tiny little breeze are decent leaves, but a lot of times they have the holes eaten in them and things like that. And when you get the rain involved, it almost knocks down like a little bit better quality leaf. So I find that that's better. I didn't have any such luck yesterday. The weather wasn't cooperating with me. It didn't start raining until after I was at work and I had already picked the leaves. But anyway, we give it a go. All right, so that's sheet 4, and I'm gonna call that just about well enough alone. Maybe another little bitty one. Oh, how about this one? We'll see how that goes. And again, it's paper, so you can modify it. If you don't like the way things turn out, add paint, add spritz, add texture paste, put a dye on top of it. Do whatever you need to do to make it suit you. All right, so, here's a nice big tulip poplar again. They really turned out good for me the first time, so I'm a little excited about them. And then here's one that's just a nice dark green. Oh, what I like about this one is the veins. It's got really pronounced veins, so I'm hoping for a good pattern out of it. And I'm just kind of laying them down willy-nilly, overlapping here and there. I mean, like I said, I am trying to spread out the color so that it's not like all orange grouped together and all red grouped together and things like that. But otherwise, just being kind of mostly random. But I've lost count. I suck at counting anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop. And I'm just going to turn this so that it's at a more rollable angle for me. And I'm going to show you what is involved here. So I have a piece of cloth. I've used it in the dyeing process before, so it's picked up some color from the last batch of leaves. I've got a string, which I used before. I think this one's long enough. I do think I'm going to have to cut one for my third batch, but anyway. And then, y'all, you can use a stick from the woods. That would be just fine. I happen to have this dowel rod that was, I don't know, a couple feet long. So I went down to the garage the other day and sawed it. So I'm just placing the rod on the edge of the paper, you know, just a little bit away from the very, very edge, enough where I can, oh wow, I actually just managed to rip the bottom sheet with my fingernail. Anyway, it'll be okay. And I'm rolling it, and I'm gonna try to roll it kind of tightly. And that's gonna, you can see the paper's buckling and it's pushing outward, and it's no longer even over here. You know, the top page is jutting out more. But what you want ultimately is both heat and pressure. And so I want this, oh, and I'm squeezing some of the water out. So I am in the kitchen, and I've broken off a piece of leaf. I am in the kitchen right next to the, I could have done this with a towel. I thought about putting a towel underneath, but you know, then that just gets the towel all wet and gross. So I thought, well, we'll just throw the water over. Anyway, all I'm doing now is I'm just going to take the cloth and wrap it. Now, the cloth step, according to Kelly, is optional. To me, it's another way where I can kind of tighten this, and I can feel some more water dripping out as I'm tightening it. And it just gives it a little stability. I think if you just wrapped the twine around, that you would have the paper buckling, those edges kind of poking up and things like that. So I like this. I'm going to take the twine. Oh, I want to leave an end to tie with, and I'm just going to wrap it. And guys, the cloth doesn't matter. It can literally be a rag. This is a scrap that I found at a thrift store somewhere. But if you had an old pillowcase, and I mean, you know, not one that you're using, but an old pillowcase you could cut up or something like that, a kitchen towel. It doesn't have to be like this thin fabric. But anyway, I'm tying that up, and that is my bundle. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bundle and put it in a pan. And this pan I probably owe my husband a new pan. I've been cooking leaves in it and, you know, boiling alum water and things like that. And what I'm going to do when I'm done with this whole process is I'm just going to pour off some of the water from here that already has alum in it. Or maybe I'll even use some of the leaf water that's also got the alum and the color. And I'm going to pour, you see my stick sticks out about an inch, inch and a half. So I'm going to pour maybe an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches in here. And just so it barely touches the paper. I don't want to soak this. I don't want to drown it. But if I just barely touch the paper, some of the water will wick up, especially since the paper's already wet. And it's basically going to be a steaming process. All right, so what she does, and what I did on the batches that I showed you that are already finished, is she boils the water, gets it up to a boil, and then turns it down to simmer and lets it simmer for several hours. I think she said 3 or 4 hours sometimes. I think I did mine more like 2.5, 3. I don't have a lot of patience, but this is a waiting game, because after you take it out, I just set it on a towel and let it dry. You know, I folded a towel up a couple times, laid it on my bed underneath my ceiling fan in the bedroom, and just let it dry. It's literally been drying for days. So I made a pack that had 3 sheets of paper, a pack that had 4, and a pack that had 5. And so the one that had 3 sheets of paper, I only let it dry for 2 days because I was impatient and I couldn't take it anymore. And I thought, well, worst case scenario, I'm ruining 3 pieces of paper. So I went ahead and unwrapped that just so I could have a little bit of fun with it. And then I unveiled the 5-pack at the store that I work at, Scrappy Shack, and let the ladies see that the other day. And so here we're going to unveil the 4-pack. Hang on just a second. I'm going to grab a trash can. Oh no. My pair of scissors has disappeared. We're in trouble now, folks. Somebody took the scissors. Gonna have to borrow the kitchen shears. Anyway, the trash can is for the leaves because there are still leaves in here. And I'm just going to try to cut this at the knot so that the string maintains its length and is reusable. And I'm going to do a slow unveiling here because I'm trying to figure out which pages are working better. Is it the ones that are on the inside closest to the stick? Is it the ones that are on the outside farthest away? I'm trying to see if there's any rhyme and reason to what pages are coming out better. And the last couple times I've done an unveiling, I've just kind of dumped everything so quickly I haven't paid attention. All right, so I'm taking off my cloth, and you can see it's all nice and grimy from being stained. And I am going to unroll. All right, so this is the inside piece, the one that's closest to the stick. And so this is not a super great page. I'm hoping that maybe I've just solved the question. And you can see these leaves look terrible now. They're just going into my trash can. By the way, they smell like tea. My daughter was funny. She was like, Mom, you took water and you boiled leaves. You literally made tea. Come on, that's what it is. Emma thought they smelled like cinnamon, but oh, it definitely is it smells like I just poured tea all over these. Anyway, that's the one page. Here is a page. So there's, okay. All right. Okay. So there's page one. Got some good green from there, some pretty good impressions. And on the back, there's some, some impressions of the leaves that were underneath. And then here is page two. I got that oak leaf, and here's a yellow one that turned out well. I haven't had a lot of success with yellow before, but that one turned out well. And there's another one of those tulip poplar leaves. Little bit of pattern on the back, but nothing outstanding there. And then here is, oh, there are 5 sheets in this one. I must have done 5, 5, and 3. I thought I had done 5, 4, and 3. Well, told you I couldn't count. All right. So here is the third. All right, so this leaf was really just bonkers right here under my thumb. It just looked like 2 leaves growing together, and I'm happy to see I got the shape, if not fully, at least partially there. And some of those orange ones came out, and then some of the green. This one was more of a yellow, so of course it's a good bit lighter. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I just rolled up the ones a minute ago, I definitely used fewer yellow, a lot less yellow, and some that were only partially yellow. So here, wow, this got the oak leaf really good. And then some maple here maybe. And again, look at the pattern on this one. The color didn't turn out that great, but the veins are really there. So I can go in with a pencil or a thin paintbrush and do some stuff with that. I think I can salvage that one. And then here, let me just dump these into the trash. All right, so this one turned out pretty well. Again, this tulip poplar orange. And this one, wow, that has a lot of texture. It actually looks like there's still part of the leaf pressed into the paper, but there's not. And there's a yellow that didn't turn out too bad. So I think what it looks like to me is the farther out the pages are, the better they turned out. And the closer to the stick they are, the less well they turned out. So you can do some stuff with that information. Maybe you want to leave the inside page, the one that's going to be closest to the stick. Maybe you want to just leave it blank. Oh, that has some weird colors on the outside too. That's a possibility. Or if you had some leaves that you weren't really sure about, but you just wanted to give them a shot, maybe you put those on the inside closer to the stick and the leaves that you like better on that outside. Now, to flatten these back out again, there are some of them that I ironed. Like I think this one I actually ironed, and you can see it's pretty good and flat. But this one is one that I opened at the store yesterday, and I just bent it backwards. Okay. So, I may iron it later, I may not, but I'm thinking, guys, this part would be like a great card front, or you can fold this and make it into a journal cover and just put something here, you know, maybe even just a sentiment or, you know, die cut or stamp here, and then you've got your leaves here. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this if it interests you. It just is a waiting game because you're going to soak your paper and your leaves overnight, and then you're going to boil for 3 or 4 hours, and then you're going to wait a couple of days. Now, I will say my sticks, because I would set these during the day on my bed on a towel under the ceiling fan, but then of course we can't sleep with them in the bed, so I'd like move them and stick them in my bathroom overnight. But in the process of moving them, at one point the stick started to fall out because it is a fairly smooth one. I don't think it would happen if you were using one from the yard that had, you know, little bends and nooks and crannies in it. But I did ultimately, like the first time it fell out, I shoved it back in. I was like, oh gosh, the stick is supposed to be in there. But then I realized it was holding its shape without the stick, and that probably having a little air get in the middle was not hurting the drying process any. So I just left it out for a couple days, and it is okie dokie fine. All right, well, thanks for playing along with me. And if you try this, let me know. And that is the process. Bye-bye.